Miss you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
That's really touching. Thank you very much, Ajay Prabhu. It's really heartening to come here and see how you're adhering to this eternal system, Sanatana Dharma, and following in the footsteps of the great acharyas who have set forth a path that anyone can follow from any part of the world and be successful. And this is definitely a strategic place, Sacramento, state capital. And we've experienced ourselves how when you keep the pot simmering, at some point it boils up. The process of Krishna consciousness is a transcendental one. And by continuing holding open class on Bhagavad Gita and teaching others how to chant Hare Krishna, and then following the path of Lord Chaitanya by chanting Hare Krishna ourselves, both through japa, through kirtan. There's a way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives divine assistance to bring people who are sincere, who would like to follow the path of kirtan and the Yuga Dharma, and they just come. So you're doing the greatest service that is available on this planet. Everyone's looking for some service that can do.
I'm very grateful to all of you for holding this space in Sacramento for so many years, and now things are coming together and coming up. They always have been, and they come up in different phases at different times. It's just a matter of capacity.
We grow as we go. So thank you very much, everyone, for having us up here. It's really heartfelt, and looking forward to the Ratha-Yātrā tomorrow. And thank you. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So from this Mangalacharana, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam. This verse is related to the Ratha-Yātrā ceremony that we'll be having tomorrow. Here we find this statement glorification of Srila Rupa Goswami, we are called Rupanugas. That is, we're following in the footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami, one of the chief disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose brother was Sanatan Goswami. Sri Rupa, you'll find in his writings, considers his older brother Sanatan, to be his guru. But the acharyas all point to Srila Rupa Goswami as the head of our sampradaya, as he has a position in the spiritual world that is the aim of all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And Rupa Goswami came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a person who had come from a family of brahmanas. But during that time in history, he and his brother Sanatan, who were highly qualified and highly educated, took employ in a Muslim government in Bengal. And one of them had become a chief minister, and the other one had become the head of treasury. And both had been very close to the Nawab, or the Muslim king. He depended on them, did the king. And at some point they had, of course, they were devotees, but at that time, moving away from one's Brahminical position and in the employ of Muslim rulers disqualified one, according to the mood of the times, from being considered a Brahmin. And they also considered themselves to have been estranged from that part of society. Nonetheless, they went on, of course, studying Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, but who comes especially to establish the Yuga Dharma, or the process by which anyone can practice spiritual life, but he has his own reasons also. Actually, Krishna, as Krishna himself describes in the Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya glanhir bhavati bharata abhutanam adharmasya tadamanam sujamyaham. Come in scheduled measurement. From time to time I come. It's fairly regular. When we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see how many avatars of Krishna come to this world. We have the Dāsa avatar stotram, but if you read also the third chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll find a statement that the avatars of Krishna come just like waves on a river or the ocean. You can't count them because they're incessant. And there is a way in which Krishna comes especially. Of course, avatara means one who crosses down in order to assist and bring us back up. There's a time when he comes to establish the Yuga Dharma, but generally, in many of these cases, he'll send an empowered representative, or he'll send an expansion of himself. In Kali Yuga, as explained in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, oftentimes an empowered jiva will come to establish the Yuga Dharma. Any empowered person can do that, but Krishna had been on the planet Earth 5,000 years before the Kali Yuga had begun, and we're just at the cusp. And then he had left for his own abode, as we know, those who have read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just afterwards, the Kali Yuga began. And Krishna considered that I gave ample teachings for people to understand how to make their lives perfect. For instance, a very straightforward and seemingly simple instruction is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tong Sarva Papebhyo Mukshayishami Masucha, which Prabhupada once said, if you're very poor and a rich person brings you a big bag of money and says, here, take it, what's your choices? Two. There's two. Take it or don't take it. So Krishna says, hey, just surrender unto me, I'll deliver you from all sinful reaction, don't worry. And there's two choices. What are they? Take it or don't take it. Yeah. So, as is mentioned in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, most people didn't take it. So Krishna just thought, I will come to present how to take it. Because there are a way in which people get a little concerned, what's in it for me, how will I survive, what will happen if I surrender. So he came to show in person by his own example as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to take Bhagavad Gita, how to take Krishna's instructions. But there's a much deeper reason that Krishna came in Kali Yuga, and not only did he didn't send a representative, but he came himself personally, as Swayam Bhagavan, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is explained in the Mangalacharana to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this leads us to the Ratha-Yātrā ceremony and to the verse, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. I'm getting there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in the Mangalacharana and the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. His purpose is Anarpita Acharim Chirat Karana Yavatirna Kalau Samarpa. I think I got it. If anybody can invent a microphone that can withstand ISKCON, be a very wealthy person.
Okay, hopefully.
Yeah, how about you can hold it?
No.
No?
We'll get it. Here,
Okay.
let's see it.
You just have to pull it back, the mic off.
Oh, come on, who was saying that? Come.
Because it was too close, right? So it will stay back.
Okay. You didn't study physics, did you? Anarpita charim chirat karani yavatirna kalau samarpayatun atolajvala rasam subhaktishriyam hari purata sundara duty kadamba sandipita sadarade akandare spiritualvas sachinandana. This is a verse which describes Krishna's thought process. He said, for a very long time, or forever, Anarpita charim chirat, I have not given the knowledge of my most coveted spiritual realm called Goloka Vrindavan. Anarpita charim chirat kanuna yavatirna kalas. But in Kali Yuga, he comes not just as the Yuga avatar, but also as himself, Krishna, to reveal that there's a higher mode of worshiping Krishna in the spiritual world besides just on reverence for Bhagavan. It's mentioned throughout the Srimad Bhagavad, itam satam brahmasukana bhutya dasam gatanam paradaivatena mayashitanam naradarakena sakam vrijarukrita punya punja. It's in the pastime of Agasura, when Shukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj about the spiritual world, or Vrindavan. He's telling how there are boys playing with Krishna. He's the supreme absolute truth, and he's the source of all other avatars, as has already been established in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, Ete Chamsha Kala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakalam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All of the manifestations come from Krishna, and there he is in the spiritual world playing with boys as if he's just a little boy himself. And Parikshit Maharaj wonders about this, and Shukadeva Goswami says there are many different ways in which people approach Krishna. Itam satam brahma sukana bhutya. He said some people who are gyanis, they only know about an effulgent light that comes from the Supreme. As we know, the Supreme has, as described in the first canto, second chapter of the Bhagavatam, various features that Vedanti tattvavidas tattvam yajganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. The absolute truth is advaya gyan tattva. It's one. It's advaya. There's not two things. There's only one thing. And that's Krishna. But he appears in various features. Brahman means the all-pervading effulgence that comes from the Lord. It's even reflected in the sun and the moon here in this material world. And then there's Paramatma, which means that the Lord enters into every atom and in the heart of every living being. And then there's Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he says, Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena. Some people worship the Lord in reverence. Some people see him as just an effulgence, as a light. And then there's some Mayashitanam Naradarakena. They're covered by the material energy, Mayashitanam, and they just think he's an ordinary person. Sakam Vrajaru Krita Punya Punja. But there are those who have taken to the path of bhakti, who know Krishna as their friend in the spiritual world. So there's a way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Anarpita Sharim Chirat Karane Patirna Kalau Samarpayatuna Una Tojwarasam Sabhaktishriyam. There's, besides even friendship with Krishna, there's an Ujjvala Rasa. There's the highest, the most effulgent of all and relishable of all rasas that Krishna enjoys with his devotees in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, which is this unceremonious love, and it's in the form of romantic love. That happens in Vrindavan, in the Vraj. Anyway, that's a summary. And the verse says that he came to reveal that to the world, and an odd time, which is Kali Yuga, which has already been described in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, Prayanal Payasha Sabya Kalavas Vidyugejana, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Hubhadrita, which means, in this present age we're living in, it says, men have but short lives, are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Does it sound like Sacramento? Sounds like anywhere in the world nowadays. And so what an interesting time to come to present the highest level of knowledge of the spiritual world. And this is one of his other purposes. But there's another one. There are several external reasons Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to the world. One of them is to establish the Yuga Dharma. Another one is to show the path of Raganuga Bhakti, that is the spontaneous worship of Krishna without any sense of on-reverence. And to do that, one follows in the footsteps of the residents of Sri Vrindavan. And a third purpose was to answer the call of Sri Advaita Acharya, who called for him to come to the world out of compassion for all souls. But there are internal reasons too. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Va Mariyaha Saukyam Chasya Mad Anubhavata Kidrisho Veti Lobat Tadbhavatya Samajani Sachigarva Sindhu Harindu. This is all from the Mangala Acharana from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is explaining why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. In this verse describes how Krishna gets bewildered in the spiritual world. He's known as Madan Mohan. He bewilders everybody. And that's a good thing, because everyone's bewildered by the external energy. But Madan Mohan is the one that calls us, bewilders us in love and pulls us towards him. But there's Madan Mohan Mohini. Who's that? Srimati Radharani. She bewilders Madan Mohan because her love is so special that although Krishna is self-sufficient, he's already said it in many places, and it's described in the Upanishads, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate, etc., that he's complete in himself. He doesn't need anybody else's service. Naivatmana Prabhurayam Nijalabha Purno, says Prahlad Maharaj. He's Purnam. He doesn't need our service. It's for us we give service, not for him. But there is a servant that's so exalted in the spiritual world and who's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as the best of all the devotees, who attracts Krishna's attention and his love. But he has this query, which is, how is she doing this? Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Mani. Mahima means great. He wants to know, Krishna wants to know, how great Radharani's love is. Swadyoyena bhuta madhurima kidrishova mariyaha. He wants to know Madhuri, what is the sweetness of her love? And he wants to know what is the pleasure she experiences when she sees me. Because how can he experience that pleasure? He's the object of everybody's vision and of service. So he's thinking, they're getting more happiness than me, and I'm the supreme enjoyer. This is the construct of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a very high philosophy. People generally don't have any philosophy about God. It's very simplistic. But this is extremely sophisticated and beautiful. And this is the reason for the verse, Anarpita charim chirat karuna vyaktir. In Kali Yuga, Krishna decides. And so there's a way in which, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to the world, not everybody yet is aware of who Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, or what his internal purposes are, except for some of his very intimate devotees. And how does one become an intimate devotee? Well, we find out in the Ratha-Yātrā pastime. I mean, one way, Maharaj Prataparudra had wanted to have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association, but he was a king. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, playing the part of a sannyasi, said, ew, king, no thanks. I can't go near a king. It's abhorrent to me, even the thought of meeting a king. But when he heard from Sarvabhaumacharya, heard from Ramananda Roy, he heard from his most intimate devotees that this king is an amazing devotee. Then his heart changed, but it really changed when he saw Prataparudra, the king, coming out with a broom and sweeping in front of the Ratha-Yātrā cart. So those who are intimate devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand his identity. And now the Ratha-Yātrā that's performed at Jagannath Puri, how many of you have participated in that festival? Jagannath Puri? Well, you don't have to. You can do it right here in Sacramento. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in that ceremony, as you'll find in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He and his associates went to cleanse the Gudicha temple, which is, Gudicha means Vrindavan. That's the Vrindavan temple in the pastime of Lord Jagannath at Ratha-Yātrā. And of course there's the Jagannath temple, where the Lord stays with Lakshmi Devi. But he gets restless to go out and meet his other friends, or especially Srimati Radharani, in the context of everything, really his girlfriend in Vrindavan. And going from this opulent temple of Jagannath to the simple garden of Vrindavan is the pastime of Ratha-Yātrā. So when he comes out of the temple, he's leaving Lakshmiji, and he's going to Vrindavan. And who's pulling him? The devotees who want him to come back to Vrindavan. So when we participate in pulling the ropes, we're pulling Krishna back to Vrindavan. So let's just talk about that. Where does that come from? It comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a pastime in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in which Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan go back to Vrindavan, go to Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra, as you know, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, Samaveta Yudsava, as a place where everyone would go since a time immemorial to perform sacrifice, religious sacrifice. Parashuram went there and established this holy place. And so there was going to be an eclipse of the sun. And Krishna decided to go there to perform sacrifice during that time when the sun would be eclipsed. So at that time, there were no WhatsApp groups or internet, so there was a mode of announcing these types of festivals by bard. Bards would go around to various villages and cities, and they would beat on drums, and then they would announce, hear ye, or however you say it in Sanskrit, or whatever language they were speaking then, that Krishna is coming to Kurukshetra. And it just so happened that some of them went to Vrindavan, and the residents of Vrindavan heard Krishna is going to Kurukshetra. Krishna, of course, as we know, in a heart-wrenching scene, left Vrindavan. How long had it been since the residents of Vrindavan had seen Krishna when he left on a Krura's chariot? And Krishna told, I'll be back in a few days. 3 days from every third day, they were waiting for another 3 days for over 100 years. 107 years they hadn't seen Krishna. And they, of course, we know from the description in Srimad Bhagavatam that since Krishna left them, their life left them also. And they were only pining for Krishna. This is a long subject matter, but this mood of separation from Krishna, who never actually leaves anywhere because Krishna's all pervading, but there's the sense that Krishna has left and he's gone away. He goes to Mathura, then of course he goes, Haribol, great to see you. He goes, some ISV devotees came. And then he goes from Mathura, he goes to Dwarka, transfers over there because of the ways in which Jarasandha is harassing him and his devotees in Mathura. He just transferred them over to Dwarka while they were sleeping. That's how Krishna takes care of his devotees. Just to put them in a protective place, he made an enclave in the ocean, and the devotees were sleeping, and then they woke up in these golden palaces in Dwarka in the middle of the ocean. So Krishna then in Dwarka had taken on this very opulent persona as a great prince. And now the residents of Vrindavan had heard Krishna's coming to Kurukshetra. Everyone else heard it too. So millions of people came there to Kurukshetra. Great sages came to Kurukshetra. We know that because in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna addresses all the sages, and many of them are named, the great ones who would come there, and he gives a talk to them. And he had his soldiers, they had elephants, they had gold filigree. It's described how in the migration all the way from Dwarka to Kurukshetra, there were minions from every direction, and there were encampments there. And then came the residents of Vrindavan. Simple cowherd people. Nanda, Yashoda, and you have other cowherds. There's an esoteric reason why the cowherd boys didn't come on that journey, but the gopis came. I won't go into the esoteric reasons right now, because I'm trying to get my way back to Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, which we will do. And that is that they came, and while Krishna was engaged in official affairs and meetings there, he was given a message that the residents of Vrindavan had come. So he excused himself from his duties and went to meet them. He met his mother and father, who are Nanda Yashoda. And Yashoda held Krishna on her lap. There were other ladies there, including Devaki and others who were trying to communicate with Yashoda, but she was so absorbed in the mood of loving her son after so many years that she was not responsive. They simply walked out and said, I don't think she's going to talk to us now. And after meeting his mother and father, Krishna had then gone out to meet the gopis. And this at Kurukshetra was the first time that Srimati Radharani had met Krishna since he left Vrindavan. And so during that meeting, when Krishna meets Srimati Radharani finally, after all these years, right there at Kurukshetra, he speaks to her and the other gopis in a very similar way that he did at the Rasa Leela. When they came to the forest, they had he had spoken to them very officially. And later on, after he had left Vrindavan, he had also sent a note with Uddhava to come to Vrindavan. He sent Uddhava with a note that he brought to Vrindavan to read to the gopis, to tell why they should take up mystic yoga, to realize that he's all-pervading. Tell us here. Mystic yoga, no thanks. And the same thing happened there at Kurukshetra when Krishna saw the gopis. And he began to console them that all this, first of all, he said, all this separation has happened by the will of the Lord and destiny. And he speaks this verse, whybhaktiisimportant amritat vayakalpate jishna yat asin mat sneho avatina madapanaha. That you're very fortunate because you've developed this high level of love for me. And the gopis say, well, wait a minute. You are God. You're talking about destiny and the will of God, but you are him. And he goes, well, anyway, even if I am, you've still developed this most rare type of love for me. And he goes on in this mood of teaching them how to see God everywhere and so forth. And there's a very hidden mood behind this conversation, which is part of what I'm getting to as what Ratha-Yātrā is about. In their response to Krishna, there's a famous verse that is uttered by the gopis, and they say, Ahushchate nalina naba padaravinda yogeshvara hridi vichintya agada bhorai samsara kupa patito taranava lambam geham jusham apimanas sudana, which is externally they're saying, why are you telling us all this? Because we're just geham jusham apimanas. So all this knowledge is for these advanced yogis and mystics who can understand what you're saying. So we're so fallen, what can we understand? And we're just women, simple women, we don't know anything, and we're attached in many different ways. So we're coming to the conclusion here, the secret behind that, revealed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who says, they're speaking these words in a mood of jealous anger. Krishna, who do you think we are? You've already said at the rasa dance that you've given up all comforts of home. You're not attached at all to anything. You've come here for me. Why are you giving us instructions about how to become detached? And poetically, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, your words of instruction are like the sun, and they're burning us. As we're like chakora birds. We don't want the sun, we want the moon. And what's the moon? All we care about is your beautiful moon-like face. We don't want all this instruction. And so, right there, there's an implication, Chris saying, well, here I am. I'm here, you've been pining for me for all these years, and now I'm here at Kurukshetra. And then Srimati Radharani is saying, no, not like this. I want to see you in Vrindavan. I want to go back to the bank of the Jamuna. And there, in the atmosphere of Vrindavan, the loving relationship we have there, that's what I want. So here we go. I'm going to finish with how that all connects. Because at Ratha-Yātrā, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was participating in the pulling of the carts and dancing before the carts, dancing behind the cart. all the way to the Gujita temple, which is Vrindavan. And meanwhile, he was singing a song out loud that is kind of a secular song, like if at the Ratha-Yātrā tomorrow somebody starts singing a Taylor Swift song or something like that. And like, come on, what are you doing? And here's the sannyasi before the Ratha-Yātrā cart, and he's singing a secular song. And it's about a love affair. In fact, it was from literature that was meant for students to teach them what not to write about. And he was singing that song aloud. So no one understood what he was singing except for two people. One of them was Swarup Damodar, and the other was Rupa Goswami. So what Rupa Goswami did in Jagannath Puri was to write a parallel verse. He understood why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing this verse, and it has to do with his meeting the gopis at Kurukshetra. And he's saying, just come with me to Dwarka. And they're saying, no, we want you back in Vrindavan. It's not the same love affair. We're not stimulated in the same way. We can't find the same kind of loving exchange, as that can only take place in Vrindavan. And so Rupa Goswami, he knew that's why Mahaprabhu was singing this. So he wrote, and it was on palm leaves back then, he wrote a parallel verse. It was exactly like the other one, only adjusted perfectly for why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing that song. And he lived in a little thatched house, little thatched hut. So he took that and he put it in the thatch. It was like a little flag sticking out. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came there to see Srila Rupa Goswami, he saw that palm leaf sticking out. He pulled it out, he read it. And when he saw Rupa Goswami, he slapped him mildly in love. And he said, how did you know my heart? How did you know this verse? How did you know that was my mood at Vrindavan? And therefore we have Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. Manobhishtam means he knew his heart. He knew exactly what was going on in his heart. So the Ratha-Yātrā is as Prabhupada used to say, it's a very feeling festival. It's, of course, there's the pulling of the cart, and most people drive by and say, what is this, Hindu festival? Or we call it Festival in India. But actually, the meaning of this festival is very, very deep. And it traces back to Krishna's deepest emotions and his attachment to his devotees in Vrindavan and their attachment to him. And that's what we're participating in. Let's see if anybody has any questions. I noticed you adjusted the clock, and now I don't understand what's going on, except for maybe it's 20 till.
It's Folsom time.
Is what?
Folsom time.
Oh, Folsom time. I had a teacher in middle school named Mr. Schumacher, and he turned the clock upside down so we couldn't tell what was going on.
We teach at 6 o'clock, so the people will come in late, they don't feel bad.
Oh, that's so nice.
6,
That's
okay, I'm not late.
that's real compassion, isn't it?
Prabhuji, we have a habit here
Yes.
of passing the mic.
Okay.
So everybody, who would like to say something, they can add.
Yes,
Something that
yeah.
What they like.
Okay.
What they, if they, and then
Yeah.
questions come up.
Reflections.
You engage
Reflect back anything you heard
Perfect.
that resonated, that you appreciated or stuck with you, or a question that you have to illuminate the conversation.
Hare Krishna, Vaiśeṣika Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisance on Guru Shri Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj. So, can you glorify about Srimad Radharani, about in Ratha-Yātrā? What is the importance of the Srimad Radharani?
Well, just as I was saying, that's the nucleus of the Ratha-Yātrā pastime, is when Krishna meets Srimati Radharani in Kurukshetra. That's what I was just saying. Very good. Okay, what else? Prabhu?
You'll get it at
We'll just go,
7
but
seconds or
Michael,
less.
yeah, we have got it.
Oh, I see.
It's coming.
Everyone gets a
So
shot.
anybody who wants to ask a question or say something, you can add. Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Hare Krishna.
my fellow pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. First of all, having a lotus feet here is a privilege and an honor and a blessing for all of our devotees here in the Sacramento area. And we've always used to see you in the Bay Area, so your presence is very much appreciated by all of us. So, Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale, such a beautiful description that we got. It is just that the heart of a devotee, is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart is known by a devotee, which is what we understood through your description of this today's lecture. So we really appreciate and we wish to hear more from you about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his ecstatic love for Radharani. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Srinidhi, you should say something. Srinidhi, you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just came, but I'd just like to say Hare Krishna.
Okay, good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, can you please share the story how Lord Jagannath's limbs got inside and how does he have that form?
There's much described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the chapter called Ecstatic Dance. Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic dancing at Ratha-Yātrā, and there are other descriptions when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the Gambhira. In the last stage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he exhibited ecstatic symptoms that, as Kaviraj Goswami mentions, that you won't hear about these in other part of the Vedas. So when Mahaprabhu was in the final parts of his pastime in Puri, and he was in a small room but very deep and big idea there, which was this loving attachment in separation from Krishna. And as I described earlier, Shri Radhaya Mahima Kitishovanayada, he came there to experience that, what was Srimati Radharani's love. So Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar would spend time with him there, and they would sing songs of separation according to Chaitanya. They could ascertain Mahaprabhu's moods, or which kinds of taste he wanted to experience in loving separation. So they would sing songs from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Chandidas, from Jayadev. And in hearing these songs, it would stimulate Mahaprabhu's love. He was, actually, this is described in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu, as we talked about before, he had various purposes in coming. And in his earlier pastimes, as a young scholar, he was extremely conceited and went around defeating everybody. But when he met his guru at Gaya and came back a completely changed person, wanted to render service to all the Vaishnavas and so forth. And then, of course, fast forwarding, he took sannyas. He made an agreement with his mother to live in Puri, because Puri and Navadvip are like two rooms in the same house. People are always coming and going there. She'd get news from him. And he still had his mission going on. He went to South India for some time. The person, as I mentioned earlier, who had called him to come to this world was Srila Ratha-Yātrā, who had, this is mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, that Mahaprabhu said to Ratha-Yātrā, it was your loud cries. You woke me up, actually. I was sleeping on the milk ocean. and because of your loud cries, because of your request, you have called me to come here. And at some point, Ratha-Yātrā had sent a message to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was an enigmatic message where he said that now there's enough rice in the marketplace. Everyone's satisfied. And no more required. And Mahaprabhu had laughed when he heard that. Other devotees couldn't understand what it meant, and Swarup Damodar understood what it meant, but he pretended that he didn't know. And he said, what does it mean? And Mahaprabhu commented that Vaiśeṣika calls the deity to come and then he asks them to go away. And then Kaviraj Goswami says, just after that, reading that note, Mahaprabhu's limbs would become very long, and other times they would retract within his body. And there are many stories about that in the Anjalila, about the ecstatic symptoms of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Practically speaking, the highest emotion in the spiritual world as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that which is experienced by Srimati Radharani called Mahabhava. And practically speaking, how could one even contain that? So the body distorts and it contracts and so forth. So that's all there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes? Okay. Okay.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for coming here and that pastime just to explain my shloka from Sri Chaitanya Manubhishtam, how Rupa Goswami understands the mind of Krishna. You explained such a beautiful pastime and took us to Kurukshetra. And actually now I can see the Ratha-Yātrā festival from completely different angle. It's not, as you mentioned, it's not just a festival of chariots or festival of India, it's festival of transcendental love. So that's what I just wanted to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And Prabhupada also used it as a way to spread Krishna consciousness. And so Prabhupada, when he was a child, as you all know because you've read the Prabhupada Lilamrita, one of my godbrothers who Prabhupada had spoken to in New York City circa 1976, had told him that when I was a child, and he described what you all know already, his father had arranged for him to get a small Ratha-Yātrā cart. Prabhupada said he was so attached to it that at night when he was sleeping, he'd keep it next to his bed and keep his hand on it. Because he'd wake up and then see, oh, the Ratha-Yātrā cart is still here. And he performed his own Ratha-Yātrā as a child, and the neighbors would all come and they'd all participate in it. And it was one of the first major public festivals that Prabhupada put on, and it happened in San Francisco. And in fact, the first one was on the back of a truck, a flatbed truck. And Prabhupada was ill at the time, so the devotees had carried it on and then showed him the photos. So it's gone on since then. So much in the history of Ratha-Yātrā. And it was a time in which thousands of people would come, many more than we see in the Golden Gate Park now. The first ones that we went to in San Francisco, it was packed. A lot of advertising went out, and it was just a time when if there was a public festival, people would come in droves from all over and participate in the festival. And many people would come home with the devotees after that and just join the ashram. So it was also a time for expanding Krishna consciousness. Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shankaranand Prabhu.
Prabhu, thank you so much. And like we were saying that he's realizing the Ratha-Yātrā in different perspective, but the words Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, we have been reciting as Mangalacharan, but I never saw from the perspective of such a beautiful connection that you made with Ratha-Yātrā, that how this verse actually indicates Rupa Goswami knowing the heart of Lord Chaitanya, culminating in that pastime that you explained, the beautiful words, that two verses that Rupa Goswami wrote, revealing the heart of Lord Chaitanya. The verse which Lord Chaitanya would recite during Ratha-Yātrā, revealing his heart, Rupa Goswami explained those two verses. So that now I'm looking
that were there for the first time. It's kind of an amazing mixture of public festival and outward-facing preaching, but then it's even people who were there got treated to some inkling of what this is. It's something very, very special, even if they couldn't understand exactly what he was talking about due to lack of context. But were you going to make a point?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
a small doubt also.
Yeah.
So in this pastimes, Rupa Goswami knew the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But in the Krishna Lila, when in Kurukshetra, Krishna met with Radha, at that time, Rupa Goswami was in his previous life, the Rupa Manjari in Krishna Lila, I think. So Rupa Manjari was present at that time when, along with Radha, when she met Krishna. Otherwise, how would you know this thing? So,
Well, this pastime of Kurukshetra is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but that type of detail is not in the Bhagavatam verses itself. That is whether Rupa Manjari was there at the time, nor is it in the commentaries that I've read to the Srimad Bhagavatam specifically about that. But in any case, Krishna's intimate devotees are intimates. They're well aware of his dealings and his intentions and so forth. Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Any last points? Questions? Comments?
Thank you for coming. Those who don't know, they had a very busy morning. There was a memorial program till at least 1 o'clock or after, and then 4 hours drive here. And thanks for all the details.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very enlightening life to be very enlightening. And a lot of details that you read, you don't get it. Is flyby, and the regular details, it seems far deeper than even I didn't know I was reading it. I did not know what this meant. I never thought of it that way. Never in any. This is the principle it's referring to. But I always thought that we are praying that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Stapitam Yena Sri Gurupadamayya Vaisesikadasa, that that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Rupa Goswami knows the mission of Lord Chaitanya. That's how I'm talking about. The mission of spreading him. And then Srila Prabhupada executed that activity. That's how I took it. But there is a lot deeper meaning, of course, this.
Yeah, I mean, the juxtaposition of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita is what Prabhupada was exposing to the world.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll notice in the artwork, he'll have the Sankirtan party and the Rasa Lila going on in a split screen. And this is indicative of the crossover. If you go deeply enough into Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, where you end up with Radha and Krishna. And if you go deeply within the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, you end up with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's like a reversible jacket. You put on one side or switch it over to the other side. And yeah, and of course Rupa Goswami in the Anjalila we find just after, what's at the beginning of Anjalila, she was saying, takes the dog back to God. That's the Anjalila. So after that, then we have the meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami and him introducing him to all the luminaries there. And he asked him to read some of his poetry, which he reluctantly does, and then they're all so impressed with his poetical prowess, poetical abilities. How is this possible? And then Ramananda Roy said, oh yeah, previously you had blessed him, you had transferred your potency to him so that he could write such things, and empowered him to do that, to reveal to the world. So that's the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed to the world what he wanted, which was this understanding of what's beyond the material world, of course, and then what's beyond even Vaikuntha, and what is the Goloka Vrindavan. He did it through the pen of Srila Goswami, and of course Sanatana Goswami, who writes about in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Is there another festival going on?
There's a Hindu temple next door.
Well, let's all go over there and figure out big right now.
Hanumanji is in the procession right now.
It's only 8 o'clock. We can have a huge Harinam, go door to door. Going door to door is so exciting. Where were we last when we went door to door? It was in Washington. Baltimore. Actually, we did it.
That was store to store.
Store to store. There's store to store and door to door. The thing about store to store is everybody's home. You know they're in there. You can see them. Plus they have big, huge boxes full of money. Door to door is always exciting because you get to see a little snapshot into people's lives. And Prabhupada wrote before he came to America about how people were in their homes. He said they're looking down the road wondering, when are Nitai and Gaur going to come and save me? So when you go to door, it's such an exciting adventure. You never know what's going to happen. We were in Denver.
That's where it was.
In Denver we did door to door, and we took a bunch of devotees and we all went out together. That's how you have fun. Go out together on book distribution. And so we split up in this big apartment complex. I would say, there's different levels of socioeconomic. There's different socioeconomic levels, obviously. This one, here's middle, right? They were, down there. Some of the places in and out we were going seemed a little slightly scary. So, anyway, we're knocking on different doors, going door to door.
Over the ledge reading the book. We took a picture of him. He said no. And then he said yes. And then we walked out and we looked up and he's leaning over we said, hey. And he's, yeah, I read it. And another guy, he was a doctor. He was a PhD doctor from Africa. He was just walking along and I stopped him and I started talking to him and I showed him the book and there were a bunch of devotees standing around. So he figured something really going on here. But he was a highly educated person, obviously. And I said, we don't sell it like in a bookstore. We only ask for donation. We don't need the money. But when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it gives you the wherewithal to read it and to be able to appreciate it. And he goes, okay, but I don't have anything with me. My apartment's way over on the other side. We said, no problem, we'll go with you. And he agreed. So I followed him all the way to his apartment. It was about a 10-minute walk. And I went up to his apartment, I could see he was, the apartments weren't very opulent, but inside his, I saw he had a lot of books and bookshelves and everything like that. And he just gave me $20 and was very appreciative and took the book into his house. It's probably there right now. It's in that house somewhere. And these sets of Bhagavatams that go out to various people around the world, there's munitions in warfare. There's different size munitions. We Americans know all about it because we're so pugilistic. We're trying to bomb everybody everywhere. So since I was a kid, I probably watched 1,000 army movies. Bombs and munitions, so probably compared our campaign to this kind of warfare. He said, it's like taking out bombs and dropping it into the laps of the conditioned souls. Books should be raining from the sky, like during wartime, he said. Like the bombs come down, like if you've seen these videos, carpet bombing, where they'll drop 1,000 bombs and boom, 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 boom. And so there are different size munitions. Some of them are little bullets, other ones are hand grenades, other ones are they do more, but this is the nuclear option. Because when a set of Bhagavatams goes in somebody's house, they have to explain themselves. I mean, you're not going to hide that anywhere. It's so big, right? And that's one of the reasons people think about whether I should take it or not, because how am I going to explain this? And they have to move something else out of the way and put it in. There's an object. Sociologically, it means somebody comes over and is like, what are you into here? It's like, all right, I'm all right, Krishna. I mean, how are you going to explain the Bhagavatam? But it makes everything beautiful. And, I have this person who's a
who helps us, a caregiver, and I took her a set of Bhagavatams, yoga teacher, and now she has her in the in the place where she teaches, just on the, and every once in a while I'll look up there, it's like, hey, where's the first canto? And then, where is it? And, yeah, I'm reading it, you know. Once it gets in there, it's like the radiation's coming, and it goes out. So our mission of book distribution is so exciting, because there's a whole world to cover, and one of the other exciting aspects of door to door is you wonder, what are people doing in there, in their houses? Nothing really. Nothing important. Nothing that can't be put on hold for the Bhagavatam. I mean, of course people have to live, and they have to, you know, boil some noodles and eat them or whatever. But everyone's living a banal life with no real excitement in it. The real excitement's in the Sankirtan movement, and that's what's really happening in Kali Yuga. So it's important to go to as many places as possible and meet people and make friends with them, offer them Krishna literature. If people don't want it, that's fine too. We're just out there to make friends with people. And in the simple process of distributing books, there's a scale, a little spectrum that goes from 1 to 10. I'll teach you this little technique, and it'll save you a lot of time, and you can thank me later. So the spectrum goes from 1 to 10 like this. And when you go around to distribute books, you look for the people who are above 5. So when you interact with somebody and they don't want to interact with you, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ishvare tadadineshu vaiśeṣika usatsucha prema maitri kupopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha, which means leave them alone. If they're not into it, don't chase them, don't push them. It'll save you a lot of time. So there's up to, from 1 to 5, 1, they hate you. And like at 5, they're just indifferent and they want to be bothered. So Bhagavatam says, don't bug them. And it saves you a lot of time. When you get to 5.1, they'll start showing maybe a little interest. 5.3, 5.4, you get up to 6, they see what you're doing, they'll come over and say, hey, I want to do this. How much is that? Can I take it? So book distribution, to make it fun and easy, is to just know your scale, know your people. Don't try to convince everybody. Just try to select the 5.1s and above. And all you have to do is go to more people and knock on more doors and meet people. And when you find people that smile and like what you're doing, you just show them, here's what we have. And the 6s, they'll take a Bhagavatam set. Right on the spot. They'll just tap their card and say, I'll take it. And you can help them put it in their house. And everybody else, anywhere you go, if you take books with you and you just offer them to people, there's 4 laws of book distribution. You know this is going to turn into a seminar, right? We really can't believe it. Okay, so I'll finish this another time, because I've kept everybody up quite late, and it's time for prasadam, and then we'll adore.
I think they have Arti.
I think we want to hear the 4 laws too.
Okay, 4 laws, and then Arti, then prasadam, then door to door. Night Sankirtan. We'll start. People will say, heard it first here at Sacramento. The first law of book distribution, and if you follow these 4 laws, you'll be fabulously successful in individual attempts to distribute books, and also as a community. You'll become an empire. One is, your sadhana must be strong. Strong sadhana means strict, serious, sincere. If you lean into it, then you'll notice that your life begins to improve in ways that you never could have imagined. What's more, you have this kind of enthusiasm to give other people Krishna consciousness because you've got it. And you only get it when you do a little sacrifice and lean into your sadhana. Practice hard. Next one is that you have to get books. And we've done scientific studies in some of the largest universities. We did double-blind studies and found that you can't distribute books you don't have. So you have to get books. Books are available. If you want to distribute Bhagavatams, get Bhagavatams. If you want to distribute Bhagavad Gita as it is, get it. And make it
a point to have all the inventory you need. Number 3 is the more you show, the more you sell. And if you just show it, then all the 5.1s in the butt will take a book because they're looking for it. And you ready for number 4? You must organize. Because you can do it as a hobby and you can do a little bit here and there, but if you use all organizational techniques that you're all aware of from either managing a household or a business, then you can keep expanding it in ways that become attractive. It can get bigger and bigger and bigger according to the way you organize it. And those are the 4 laws. And I thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna.